I've never heard him say I love you ever in a song, or I don't like you. He never has said anything positive. It's kind of, he hides behind other people's experiences all the time. But I think that's what he's trying to say about himself each time.
How do I write those songs? I write them in a very natural way, but in a very detached way also. But not to say that I simply sit down and guess. But it is very detached, which I think is also important, because not everybody has fantastically, endlessly romping private lives, as we know.
There is a sort of ambiguity. I mean, you're never quite sure who he's singing to or who he's singing about. I mean, the genders are all very, you know, I think it's wonderful, just wonderfully vague. So therefore, whoever you are, whichever sex, I mean, you can almost listen to the songs and you can interpret them, you know, to fit your life, give them, you know, your meanings.
There's some very disturbing things going on in those lyrics. But from what I've gathered, I mean, Morrissey is very, very touchy about the whole male-female gender thing. He seems to think of view things as there is a third sex, which, you know, that appears to be his belief. And it certainly works. It really works. I think, you know, things like "Handsome Devil," which is a, you know, I mean, if the Rolling Stones had done that song, they would have never gotten away with a song like that. Never. I mean, if they'd have done that. Because it's, you know, I mean, it's basic homoerotic imagery.
A boy in the bush, worth two in the hand. I think I can help you get through your exam. Oh, you handsome devil. Oh, let me get my hands on your mammary glands and let me get your head on the conjugal bed.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I sing from a staunchly male point of view. I think I have enough scope to really imagine how practically almost anybody would feel. And for me to sing in an exclusively male point of view is just very standard, really.
One doesn't have a particular sex when you sing. I mean, you've had so many lifetimes being a man or a woman or indifferent. I mean, so you can sing about all of those. But I would do it in the first person. He does it in the third.
We used to read obsessively. I mean, you know, devouring book after book after book. I mean, it's a really essential ingredient in our lives. And most of the books we read were by women or about women, or somehow, you know, a woman sort of popped up somewhere.
People like Sheila Delaney, I was very, and remain so, very obsessed by. Oscar Wilde, a lot of feminist writers I was very interested in, because they, once again, they seem to really, they seem to have the key on very modern situations as far as relationships were concerned. They seem to be, feminism, although one can talk about feminism and people can screw up their brow and say, and back off, I think really they had the key to many things which have unravelled themselves within recent years as very strong political topics. Not just feminism, but broader issues.
Now, don't keep me waiting. I want a drink.
You've had enough.
Look, I'm not hanging about in this filthy hole.
Wait, where you like, then?
Certainly Sheila Delaney and Alan Bennett, I see a great deal of similarity in the way they write and the view that they have. Very northern, very back garden, almost gossipy, and very entertaining.
That's his influence, I suppose.
You get out of it and go back to your fancy man or your husband or whatever you call it.
Oh, I'll give you such a bloody good idea, and that's what you've gone short of.
Don't shut yourself up for what you are.
You couldn't wait, could you? And now look at the mess you've got yourself into.
Well, get out of it without your help.
Threw yourself at the first man you met.
Yes, you're right, I did.
You're man-mad.
I'm like you.
You know what they're calling you round here? A silly little whore.
They all know where I got it from, don't they?
Oh, I'll knock your bloody head off. Get out of it. Go
on!
Stop shouting at each other, will you? Oh, shut up. We enjoy it.
I can't really seem to write from a point of view that's completely detached from the solid Manchester thing and all those old bonds and all those things that perhaps I never really liked. but it's just something like, it's like your kidneys. They're just there, and you have to put up with them.
Because of this constraint, especially living in Manchester, where the sex roles are more, you know, clearly defined, and you know, the lads go, you know, whatever, to the pub, and you know, it's so sort of clear cut here. And if you do anything slightly different, you know, people do notice and do talk, and you know, so I'm sure Morrissey was well talked about. Certain
violent expressions that people have. Sometimes I can really understand them, because sometimes, and certainly when you're like Arthur Seaton from a working class background, you have to be very over-expressive, and you have to be overtly demonstrative in order to get anywhere or to be heard and so on.
Mum called me balmy when I told her I fell off a gasometer for a bet. But I'm not balmy. I'm a fighting pit prop that wants a pint of beer, that's me. But if any knowing bastard says that's me, I'll tell him I'm a dynamite dealer waiting to blow the factory to kingdom come. I'm me and nobody else. Whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not. Because they don't know a bloody thing about me. God knows what I am.
I became very interested in film history. Quite specifically, films from the early 1960s, such as A Taste of Honey, Saturday Night and Sunday Morning. Films with a common thread, I would say. The common thread possibly being that quite largely such films are kind of loving the family way. We're about people in the North specifically, with their tail trapped in the door almost, trying to get out, trying to get on, trying to be somebody, trying to be seen. And I found that very appealing. I found it very, well, obviously a great identification with that. Because that's really the way you feel in Manchester.
Shaddy, yaddy, 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 like your life! Oi! Shadows!
I hope my singing didn't put you off.
You know, by the time we're burying you, you'll be going off in one of these. Plastic, you know that? Yes, you see, people don't realize. It's all clean lines nowadays. All these frills and fancies are going out. It's all old. Same as I tell Councillor Duxbury, you've got to move with the times. No use living in one style and dying in another, is it?
Quite.
Sit down, make yourself at home.
Oh, thank you.
So you're thinking of leaving us, hey? Is that it?
Frankly, Mr. Shankly, this position I've held, it pays my way and it corrodes my soul. I want to leave, you will not miss me. I want to go down in musical history. Frankly, Mr. Shankly, I'm a sickening wreck. I've got the 21st century breathing down my neck. I must move fast, you understand me. I want to go down in celluloid history, Mr. Shankly.
I grew up in the Old Trafford, Stretford areas of Manchester. I was born in 1959. It was quite hard and obviously very working class. Most of the houses I ever lived in, 4 or 5 houses, are completely demolished, and all the schools I ever went to were completely demolished, almost as if practically, in a way, as if a complete era was completely demolished in the late 1960s. The strong working class communities were completely eradicated, almost. It was almost like almost a political movement to completely squash this very, very strong body of people, it seems. As I began to buy records in 1965, very obvious pop things of the time, which were the most important things in life to me. And it always remained so. All the records I bought, they were friends. These people knew me and I knew them, and they were in my life.
I'm in the middle of nowhere, getting nowhere with you.
things like Dusty Springfield, Marianne Faithfull, and Cilla Black, and the very obvious big 1960s names, which I still have them all, and I still like them even more now. Sandie Shaw. She seemed to have a particular street sense. She was just really like an ordinary girl, and saying whatever really came into her head, although she didn't write the songs. That's how the songs seemed. It seemed like direct conversation.
Message understood. Late Saturday night, you came around and I knew.
On the day that he came, I got into sort of like, oh, you know what it is when you've got kids, you're sort of like your rhythm and your timing, and it all goes out. And when I opened the door to him, I was still in my pyjamas, but I'd put my makeup on. I was horrified. He might think I was this kind of like Joan Collins type character that even went to bed in her makeup. But anyway, as I opened the door, I mean, these two sort of like, well, sort of stupefied faces, and like Morrissey, I thought was going to faint. And, well, to be quite honest, I've been worshipped from afar a lot, but I've never been worshipped that close up that often, and it sort of took me aback a bit.
Sandie Shaw has always meant a great deal, quite largely simply because of the records, which I thought had more life, spirit and energy than practically anything else that appeared throughout the 1960s. And I think that's quite a mean feat, really.
He started reeling off everything I'd ever done, B-sides of songs that had never been released, things I said to somebody that had said to somebody else, and places I'd been that I'd totally... I just suddenly realised this guy knew my life backwards. There was nothing he didn't know about it. He knew all the good bits and all the bad bits, and he still loved me. And it was just a sense of relief that somebody actually knew everything about me and still loved me. It was really wonderful. And from that point, I began to trust him. I didn't trust his music at that point. I just trusted him, and I thought, well, at least it's going to be a giggle.
And in love, the good people laugh. Yes, we may be hit by rags, but with something they'll never have. And in love, the sun shines out of our behinds. Yes, we may be hit by rags, but with something they'll never have. And if the people stare, then the people stare.
Like when I went for a photo session with him, they'd put me sort of like on a level just above him, so I couldn't actually see what he was doing. And so it was clicking when I was looking at the camera, and all of a sudden I looked down, and he'd got these rosary beads out and was looking up at me like this. These rosary beads. Put them away.